Hello and welcome, and if you're new here, I'm Nathan, and just like a lot of us, we're addicted to Facebook Marketplace because we want to find the best deal possible, especially on a vehicle. So that's what I'm doing. I'm scouring Marketplace to see if I can find a vehicle to flip for a decent profit. And that's why I came across this, a 2010 Toyota Corolla that has 210,000 kilometers on it, and I got it for $1,800. That's right, $1,800 for a Corolla, but there's one serious catch, which you'll find out later. All right, everyone, I'm here with my friend Connor, and we're gonna pick up the Toyota Corolla right now. And as you can see in behind Connor, it's right there. Now, when I already checked this vehicle over yesterday, I noticed that the battery is completely dead. It's right here. It's from 2017. So yeah, it's pretty old. So wouldn't even start. So now we got a new battery in there. So we're gonna try and start it so that way we can get it here on the trailer. All right, everyone, let's see if this Corolla will fire up. Okay, no. Does not sound happy at all. Fortunately, Toyota was nice enough to put the starter right here at the front. All right, let's see what happens. Oh, it's so close.
We got success, Nathan.
We're good. Oh my God, this is great. It works, no check engine light.
Eureka.
Okay, let's get this thing on the trailer before we have to load it on there by hand. All right, everyone, we're heading off to drop off the Corolla, and then maybe in the next couple weeks I'll actually get started in diagnosing it to see if there is a timing chain problem or whether it was just the battery this whole time. That's correct. Timing chain problem is the reason why I got this vehicle for so cheap, because the previous owner was under the impression that there's something wrong with it. So now that I've received all the parts here for the Toyota, I can start working on it. So the first thing I'm gonna do is get it jacked up, at least here in the front end, so that way I can drain the oil and then start to dismantle everything I need to get to in order to get to the timing chain. Okay, that's good. This will be the first time I worked on a vehicle with hubcaps. Oh, such a light wheel. Oh my goodness, that's so light. So now that I have the wheel off, I have easy access to do the timing chain. But again, first let's drain the oil. All right, let's take the cap off here first. Okay, so it's not as nice as I thought it was gonna be. To be honest, the owner said that they changed this oil not that long ago, but it did sit for a while. Now they have this plastic cover gone here. You can easily see the crank right there. And then over in this bottom corner here, you can see the oil pump housing, which I have to remove. First thing I'm gonna tackle here is the top end, just getting all these harnesses off. And then of course, these grounds here, and then remove the alternator, and then remove the coolant, at least move it out of the way. And then that way I can take out the support here for the engine on that side. And then once I have that, I can get ready to take off the timing cover. That's pretty much all the connections there, except for just this hose. Now it's just onto the alternator. Took off the belt there. So now it's just getting on that last 14 mil bolt, and then this should come out. So get this thing out of here. There you go, alternator's taken out. Okay, I got the engine supported with my jack. Now it's time to remove the engine mount, and of course just sort of clear up a little bit of space in here, so that way it's easier to get the timing cover off. To get that bracket off the timing chain cover, I actually had to figure out how to remove that one bolt there at first. It took me a moment, but once I figured it out, it was easy. Just looking at the camshafts, you can tell that someone's done their maintenance on this vehicle, especially on time, because there's no sludge whatsoever. So everything's in top dead center here. I made some paint markings just as per the instructions. That's what it said to do. Probably not really necessary for what I'm doing because I'm taking out the whole chain and tensioner. So just did it anyways. But yeah, there's the markings there on the cams, on the sprockets on either side. So right there. And then down here, that pulley with the crank is aligned with that 0 mark on the timing cover. All I have to do now is take off the water pump and then the timing cover, and I have complete access to the timing chain and the tensioner. Remove the water pump here. I think there's a bunch of 12 mil bolts just holding it in there. And then for the timing cover, I think they're all 14s. The timing chain cover has been removed, which is great. Unfortunately, I think the cam here on this side maybe just jumped slightly. Again, they're slightly off, so I'm just going to adjust it here. I've watched a video online and said not to freak out. Just make sure that this line here is in line with that bolt right there. And then this one here is, you know, pretty much straight. So next thing I'm gonna do is take out these guides right here. This one I think just comes out by hand. Yeah, it does. Okay. And then this one is just held in with a bolt down there. The new oil pump tensioner installed and all the old silicone removed here off the mating surface. It's now time to install the timing chain and then the guides and also eventually the tensioner. Now I'm trying to get the stretch here to the best of my accuracy. And as you can tell, there really isn't any stretch. So I feel like this one maybe has just a hair of stretch. And this one here, well, it's brand new, so it shouldn't have any. So let's get this one installed and see how well it is. Now I've got two guides in my hand. I want you guys to guess which one is the new one and which one is the old one. Well, this one is the new one, because as you can see, the old one here has got a lot of grooves in it, meaning the chain has been rubbing against that really aggressively and has caused it to groove, and that's not good. So this is the new one, and let's get it installed. I've got the cover all ready to go here. I've got the new sealant applied. Again, not really a lot of information on this stuff, unfortunately, but this is what it would look like. And of course, doing that spot right there in the center. So yeah, it's basically ready to go. Let's install it. Sorry it's a little dark, but it's now getting late. So to get the timing chain cover back on, I actually had to end up taking off the thermostat housing, which is this assembly right here, which you may have seen those two hose clamps right there. Those are a pain to get off, by the way, especially because there's this bracket in the way. So I ended up having to take this out just so I can get access to reinstalling the thermostat housing. And now that that's all installed, all I have to do now, the new timing chain tensioner here, and reinstall it in the back end. And once I install that and torque the bolts down, I'm gonna put the crank back on and then turn it counterclockwise about a half a turn, and then that should unlock the tensioner. And then I'm gonna keep turning over the engine, just some rotations, just to make sure everything is working as it should. It's not binding up or anything like that, or it's not jumping. And then making sure that all the markings are where they should be for the cam. So this marking here, and then this marking here on the exhaust. So yeah, basically once I make sure all that timing is good, and then put on the valve cover with the new gaskets, and then reinstall all the accessories and top it up with fluids, which I'll have to wait about 24 hours before I can do that, because the sealant has to set for that amount of time. I know some people run it before that, but I don't recommend ever doing that. Once that's all good, then we can start it. Now, next thing I have to do is take off this oil filter cap. Now, unfortunately, I ended up breaking it a little bit, trying to get it off just with a regular wrench because I'm an idiot. I didn't realize that Toyota had their own special tool to take off this oil filter cap here, which I now have, so I can remove it. Now let's see if this fits on. There we go, like a glove. Oh my God, whoever put that on there, Jesus. In my days, I've never seen anything like this. So after quite a bit of struggle with trying to get this oil filter cap off, using a lot of heat, I mean, basically setting it on fire, eventually it broke free. I mean, this was a big pain. I don't know who put this on here before, but it is awful. That's just over tightened. You know, I can see that there's some Loctite right there, and you should never need that on an oil filter housing. I don't know who did that or if that's from factory, but that's unnecessary. Brand new oil filter and a brand new oil filter housing cap. Now there is a gasket here, which I'm just gonna put a little bit of oil on, and there we go. Let's put that in how it should go in, nice and proper. Okay, that's nice and tight on there. Again, what a stupid design. I'm sorry, Toyota, but that's where you really failed. that belt definitely has some squeak. We'll have to fix that in a moment here. Then all I have to do is just get this thing home, and then from there, do a little bit more work to it, obviously clean it up a bit, and then get it listed for sale. So after driving the Corolla around for a little while, everything seems to be running just fine, except for there's a couple things I need to address. The first thing is the accessory belt, which is still squealing, although I've adjusted it many times. Just slight little noises coming from it, so I'm going to replace it with a brand new one, and hopefully that should solve the problem. Now the other thing is the starter motor. Now the person I bought this vehicle off of, they said that it needs a new starter motor, and actually it does. I was surprised, but it actually does need a starter motor, because now I'm noticing that at least the solenoid doesn't seem to bring back the actual starter gear, and it's getting caught on the flywheel and making sort of a noise of sorts. So I am going to replace that, and then once those two things are solved, I think everything will be fine. So first thing I'm going to do is replace the accessory belt, which is just over on this side, and I'm going to replace it with a brand new one right here. And then although this doesn't look horrible, like there's no cracks or anything, it does seem to be a little bit worn though. It's got some dry spots along the belt here, but otherwise it looks pretty good. Now you compare this to the new one, which actually, looking at it now, looks a lot better. Now one thing I always do is I always check the comparison between the two. Now this one in the front there is an old one, and this one is the new one. So I mean, it's pretty much bang on. All right, now onto the starter motor, which is actually just right here, just below this intake plenum here. So slight change of plan. I'm actually going to approach taking the starter motor here from below the car, because I just find it's easier, and I can actually see where things are, because I'm kind of blind from above. So now that I've got this connector off, I just have to take off the ground wire right there, and then the two bolts holding the starter motor in. On the right hand side here is the old starter motor, and as I said, I think that the splines here were getting caught sometimes on the actual flex plate itself and not releasing, so I hear a little bit of, I wouldn't say grinding, but just like a bit of a metallic sound every time I started the car. So I feel like that was the issue, because again, this motor was not retracting like it should. I mean, for about $100, this was pretty cheap, so again, worth replacing this just to see if that helps. And there you go, just like that, the new starter has been installed. Alright everyone, this is my favorite part of the video, where I get to tell you whether this is all worth it or not. So, as I mentioned earlier in the video, I bought this 2010 Toyota Corolla CE for $1,800, and obviously I've invested a bit of time and money into it. So let's go through the numbers here, and I'll show you what it all adds up to. Before I buy any vehicle, I always want to see what I'm going to get myself into. I mean financially, because if it's not a high value vehicle, it may not be worth the flip. So this vehicle here, a 2010 Toyota Corolla CE with 209,000 kilometers at the time of buying it, was valued between $5,100 and $6,800, which is perfect for me to at least try and sell if I get it for the right price, which I did at $1,800. Now, factoring in all the costs I've had to invest in this vehicle, of course, the transportation of getting it home, which was a trailer at $72.05, an appraisal, which is what you would need here if you don't want to pay wholesale value on taxes when you buy a vehicle. That came at $88.20. Registration is $216. Insurance, which is $108.21. So starting to add up a little bit here. And then now we get into parts, which with all add up those things there, it comes to $714. So that gives me a grand total investment here of $2,998.46. With all that in mind, I had to price the vehicle at the right amount to make sure I made a decent profit. Now, the Corolla is not in perfect shape, at least cosmetically. The exterior does have some bumps and bruises, but otherwise, mechanically, I'd say it's almost a 10 out of 10. So, with all that considered, I always tend to price my vehicles, at least if I know I want to sell it quickly, in the median. So between $5,100 and $6,800, I decided to price it at $5,800 right there. And not even within 2 hours, I sold it for $5,500, which is awesome. So with all that, it gave me a total profit of $2,501.54, which is pretty decent. But now the big question is, was it worth my time? Because I have a total of 10 hours invested in this vehicle with all the work that I did. So with that factored in, my hourly rate was $250.15. And with that being said, I want to say thank you very much for watching today's flip video. If you are new to the channel, please be sure to hit the thumbs up button and also consider subscribing so that way you don't miss any future videos like this and other car projects and car reviews on my channel, as I will especially be doing a car review on the Corolla here in the upcoming weeks, so stay tuned for that. And until next time, take care. Bye now.